You've probably seen someone protect an image long after the truth was falling apart. In Westfield, New Jersey, that image had an address: 431 Hillside Avenue. On December 7, 1971, police entered the List family home after nearly a month of silence. Neighbors hadn't seen the family. The dog was gone, light bulbs had burned out, and no one had changed them. Inside, officers needed flashlights. The house didn't look like chaos. It looked abandoned, paused, almost staged, but the family was still there. Everyone except the man who built the image, John List. And the question isn't only what he did, it's why losing the image of a good man seemed worse to him than losing everything real. John List didn't look like a man falling apart. He was a father, a husband, an accountant, a veteran, and a church-going man. He taught Sunday school. He lived with his wife, his mother, and 3 children in a large Victorian house in a wealthy suburb. From the outside, his life looked strict, respectable, controlled. That matters, because when his financial life began to collapse, List didn't let the image crack. After losing his job, he reportedly kept leaving the house in the morning as if he were still going to work. Same routine, same clothes, same performance. Most people don't start with a huge lie. They start with one day they can't explain, then another, then a whole life arranged around not being found out. For John List, the problem wasn't just money. The problem was what the money meant: failure, exposure, shame. And for a man built around control, shame wasn't a feeling, it was a threat. Then the image started needing maintenance. Not emotional maintenance, practical maintenance. Mail had to stop, newspapers had to stop, milk deliveries had to stop. The normal little signs of a living family had to be turned off before anyone noticed the family was gone. After the murders on November 9, 1971, List reportedly called the children's schools and said the family had gone to visit a sick relative. Think about that. The children were already dead, but a normal explanation had already been prepared for their absence. This is where the story stops feeling like a sudden break and starts feeling like a system. A man who couldn't admit collapse began arranging reality around the lie. The house became part of it. The phone calls became part of it. The silence became part of it. And you've probably seen a tiny version of this pattern. Someone hides a bill, then a second one. Then they stop opening letters because the envelope itself feels like exposure. But in the List house, the stakes were no longer small. He left behind a letter to his pastor, Reverend Eugene Ryewinkle. That letter is the key, because List didn't simply run. He tried to explain. He wrote as if the act had a moral logic, as if this wasn't destruction but rescue, as if ending their lives could somehow protect their souls and spare them shame. And after that, he disappeared. For almost 18 years, John List became Robert Clark, a quiet man, a polite man, an accountant again, church-going again, ordinary again. That's the part that makes the story harder to dismiss. He didn't look like a monster in hiding. He looked normal. Again, the easy explanation is money. He lost his job. He couldn't keep the house. He couldn't keep the life he was performing. But money is too small to explain the letter. The deeper mechanism is shame-based rationalization, not a diagnosis, a frame. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am wrong. And when shame becomes unbearable, some people don't move toward repair. They move toward hiding. They protect the version of themselves they need others to see. List's letter shows that pattern in its most disturbing form. He didn't write like a man saying, I failed. He wrote like a man trying to stay righteous inside a story that should have destroyed his self-image. Psychologists call another part of this cognitive dissonance. That's when a person's actions and beliefs don't fit, so the mind starts building a bridge between them. Here, the bridge was horrifying. A religious father, a destroyed family, a letter that tried to make the two belong in the same sentence. And honestly, that's the scary part. A lie can start as protection, but if it protects your image more than your reality, it can become a prison. Most of us won't live anything like John List's life. That's important to say. But the mechanism is familiar. Someone loses a job and keeps leaving every morning. Someone falls into debt and hides the letters. Someone says everything is fine so many times that the sentence becomes a wall. This doesn't mean you should suspect quiet people. It doesn't mean you should diagnose anyone around you. It means image can become dangerous when a person would rather disappear into it than admit what's happening. The tragedy of John List is not only that he destroyed his family, it's that he protected the role of a good man long after goodness had required the opposite: truth. So the question isn't who around me is secretly dangerous. The better question is quieter. What in my life am I still protecting as an image when I should finally admit it as a problem?